Well, good afternoon, folks. Panasenko here on Straight and Unfiltered. Welcome back. Great to see you on the channel. We have a great and very special guest today, Mr. Bharat Kanodia, who is based out of the San Francisco Bay Area. He is a chief appraiser of Ritra Inc. And over a long term of his career, he has valued over 2,000 businesses, different pieces of real estate, industrial and governmental infrastructure, public and private companies. Some of his very unique and very interesting assets appraised by Bharat, they include the Golden Gate Bridge, the Brooklyn Bridge, Atlanta Airport, Uber, Airbnb, Yahoo, I guess that was before Yahoo went public, and Mirage Casino in Las Vegas. So he signed off on over 4,500 different valuations with 2.6 trillion, folks. That's 2.6 trillion with T in assets worldwide. Again, I'm excited to have Bharat here on the channel. Welcome.
Gene, thank you for having me.
My pleasure, Bharat. Thanks for getting some time to get and join us on this great channel. The people want to hear, how does somebody get to this level? How do you get in the business? But more importantly, how do you get appraised those iconic names like, Golden Gate Bridge, Brooklyn Bridge, 2.6 trillion globally. God bless. So let it take us years and probably decades back and speak about how you got in the business.
Sure. I just like most people, I fell into valuation. It's not something you can go to school for. It's not like an accounting degree where, you go get an accounting degree and you go and start working for PwC. There almost is no school that teaches you how to value things. So your training is pretty much on the job. In 2000, I graduated from University of Wisconsin-Madison with a mechanical engineering degree. And I did not want anything to do with engineering. So I was looking for a job in finance. And who is going to give a 21-year-old kid with a mechanical engineering degree a job in finance? Well, I found one sucker who became my boss. And he remained my boss for 8 years. No, he was most kind to me. He gave me a lot of opportunities. And under him, I really learned how to value things. And under him, I had valued all kinds of unique or interesting or weird assets, if you will. And from there, they liked my work. They moved me up to doing commercial real estate. They liked my work there. They moved me up to doing businesses. And now I'm on the real dark side of the equation where I get to value venture capital and private equity firms, could be public or private.
Interesting. And you're in a great spot. Obviously you're in the San Francisco Bay Area. And whenever you are not doing your business appraisals, you're sailing, I guess that's why it fashions. But I mean, it's a great spot to be located for that line of business. And I've been there, quite a few times visiting portfolio managers with whom, as a financial advisor of over 25 years, I've been working very closely. So obviously San Francisco and Newport Beach out of LA, those are the mega concentrated areas for those kind of businesses. So you're definitely in the right spot. Fascinating. So at what point did you go on your own, Bharat?
About 10 years ago, I used to work with all kinds of entrepreneurs who would tell me everything about themselves and their companies because I'm an appraiser. I needed to know.
Yeah.
But after I spoke to them, I sort of realized these guys are a bunch of idiots, many of them.
Isn't it amazing? Isn't it amazing? The people that are lecturing, the people, they're clueless about so many basic stuff, that come naturally to somebody like yourself. But they're absolutely clueless. And as financial advisor, I came across quite a few of those characters, and it's unfortunate reality. But yeah, it's true.
I call them idiots who are successful. I mean, more power to them. I'm just saying,
Yeah,
hey, if this is a successful idiot, how can I become a successful idiot? So one day I had a nice, cushy gig at Silicon Valley Bank, which is one of the largest banks in the startup environment, venture capital environment here. And one day I just quit. I said, the hell with this. I'm just going to start out on my own. And I did. And it's been great since.
God bless you. Definitely have done very well. Just getting to this level is pretty incredible. As a financial advisor, more than probably many other people, I can see incredible value you bring to the clients uh, in the line of your business. A lot of times, the people, they can be geniuses in launching the business, operating the business, growing the business, sometimes exponentially. They have no clue about the valuation of the business unless it's already publicly traded company. Like one of your clients you mentioned is Yahoo, obviously. So again, now they're publicly traded. You can take, hey, this is how much they're trading per share, so many outstanding shares, times, that's how you get the valuation. It is not the case with the privately owned businesses, which represent the bulk of the U.S. economy, from mom and pops to, small businesses up to, few dozen, a few hundred employees. And what happens in terms of, for example, estate planning, as a financial advisor, as an attorney, we can't really offer the client any kind of constructive plan, either it's estate plan or risk management plan, without knowing the valuation of the business. And a lot of times the people, they're completely ignorant about those kind of valuations. So how do you approach, the business, and how do you come up with a number depending on the line of business?
Well, first thing is when I'm working for a public company, I'm not necessarily valuing the entire company.
Right.
Many a times I am valuing a small line of business or a large infrastructure asset that they might own. So, say, for example, in Yahoo's case, I was valuing all of their back end data centers and routers and all their infrastructure because they wanted to put that up as collateral for a
Right.
bank loan or something.
Right.
So, many times when I say public companies, I am valuing the public company, like I have valued Twitter and Airbnb and DoorDash.
Right.
But sometimes I'm not valuing the entire company, I'm valuing a component of the company. Um, so there are really and the reason I always clarify, because when people think valuation, they're always thinking public company
Right.
valuation, which is also true, but it is only a subset of what the entire valuation puzzle is. And there are really only three ways of valuing anything. That could be a bridge or an airport or a company or a
Right.
taxi company or what have you. And the three ways are: one, you are projecting the income stream of that business, what that business could give you as a cash flow over the next 5, 10, 15 years,
Right.
and you're present valuing that. Very simple. That's called the income approach. Number two is the market approach, which is kind of like how people value houses. That, okay, the house next door to my house, which is identical to my house, sold for, say, $500,000.
Right.
So my house is worth $500,000, right? Of course, in California or New York, for $500,000, you're not even going to get a garage, but that was just for an
A
example.
closet in Manhattan, the closet, that's what you're gonna get.
Correct. And the third way of valuing anything is okay, what might it cost to rebuild or recreate this asset today from the ground up, right? So if we were to look at a bridge or an airport or a company or a commercial building or a strip mall or a hotel, that, okay, what will it cost to rebuild this today? So really only three ways. One is what kind of cash flow this business gives and present valuing that cash flow. Two, what are similar or other comparable businesses or assets are selling for in the open market? And number three is, what would it cost if I were to rebuild or recreate this asset from the ground up?
Interesting. Interesting. Uh, I have seen in my career some businesses, just having to file for bankruptcy because no proper planning has been done. They were refusing to place any kind of formal valuations by working with a certified appraiser like yourself. They were saying, hey, I'm doing, X amount of dollars per year in revenues. I'm expected to keep growing at whatever, 12% per year. So I feel my company is worth this much. And therefore, they would be implementing a certain risk management program based on those numbers, but those numbers that they had in their minds, they would have nothing to do with reality. So that's why it is critically important to have somebody with your level of expertise and qualifications to really place the actual valuation number. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I mean, I tell people that you need to value your business once a year. Why? Why do you go to the doctor for a health checkup once a year?
Yeah.
Why do you take your car for servicing at least once a year? Why do you file your taxes once a year? Why do you talk to your CPA or a financial planner? Why do you, when you attend college, you have exams, or schools, you have exams or tests or report card? So valuation is exactly that. It's your report card for your business that, okay, you've been putting in so much time and so many hours and so much effort into your business. Did you create value? Really? Or are you just using the cash flow that's coming in from the business? Yeah, the business is making you money, but that doesn't really mean that you're creating value. Two different things. People mostly just think that, oh, just because my business is making more money, that means I am creating value and my valuation is high. No, bullshit. That those are not apples to apples comparisons.
True, true. And it's amazing how to see from industry to industry, different kind of appraisers are out there. One of my very good contacts here in New York City, he is, besides being certified through other channels, but he's a certified appraiser for Sotheby's, for example. So any kind of antiques, any kind of expensive piece of art, before Sotheby would even consider putting them for a bid out there on the auction, it needs to be examined and certified and appraised. And that's what they do, specifically for the arts and pieces of antiquity. But in your example, you're obviously not limited to only that area. You're basically working with real estate, issues and different kind of businesses. You have a great channel. I complimented you earlier. What is it worth? And one of the segments on the channel, I liked how you were appraising the CPA practices. So a lot of people, they would have thought, well, gee, those folks, they're CPAs, they're tax accountants. So what kind of appraiser, what kind of valuation, do they need? They already can kind of like figure it out. Well, it's not the case. So I would like you to speak to the audience about your experience and why the people need to get involved with somebody like yourself for that kind of issue.
Um, Valuation is really a collection of different components of your business, right? So, for example, if you remember school,
Right.
you would get a report card, and that report card would have your grades from chemistry, physics, math, writing, or physical training, or your politeness, or your friendliness, or how well you're dressed. All those things have
Full
different
gamut of
categories.
parameters. Yeah.
Correct. And, not everything is done by score, but some have a tick mark, yes or no. Some may have an A, B, C, D, depending on the category. Um, Similarly, valuation too, right? There are different components of the business. There's marketing, there's planning, there's sales, there's production, there's management, right? All those go into a one big pot or a stew in valuation. Now, in some cases, those are real numbers, right? So when you're looking at cash flow or operations, you're talking about real numbers, right?
Right.
When you're talking about marketing, you're sometimes talking about real numbers, but that really comes into, okay, what kind of um, customer base you get access to and how much dollars you're spending. So depending on the component, valuation is really a scorecard of how your business is doing.
It's a very good way to approach it, indeed. Um, You've been working with some insurance companies. Hartford is one of them that comes to my mind. And I like the analogy that you used at some point, while basically repeating, paraphrasing what has been said many times before by a multitude of different people. Death and taxes, they're definitely certain in life. But to those two ones, you also need to include the insurance component. So I would like you to speak about your experience of working, interacting with the CEO of Hartford and having those kind of conversations.
Wow. Yeah, you're talking about my insurance broker videos. So, I mean, in that video, I talk about how there are two certainties in life, right? Death and taxes. We all know that. But nowadays, we should add insurance to that mix. And I once had a chance of meeting Ramni Iyer, who was the CEO of the Hartford. And in his chat, he said that, what is insurance? Insurance is really nothing more than just a promise, right? You pay me so and so premium today, and I promise you, if anything were to happen to you or your business or your loved ones or your health, I will take care of you. That's it. Um, and you have similar promises from many other people in your life, from your spouse. You're not paying money to your spouse, but you have a mutual relationship where you're saying, hey, we'll take care of each other. This is a promise to you. How about a firefighter or a police officer or your CPA or your financial planner, right?
Very
That, hey,
similar, yeah.
if the market were to go down or something bad were to happen, I am going to be there to help you. Now, you're not saying that you will protect them totally. So there's a police officer. They don't promise you anything, right? Police officer is not saying that I can protect you from anything and everything. Or a firefighter is not saying that I can promise you I will protect you from the fires always.
Right.
You will be unharmed. You can be harmed, but he or she will be there for you. They will do their best to help you. Same thing with insurance, that they're going to be around to help you to see through that you're safe.
Great point. And again, insurance component is one of the critically important components that pretty much any business should incorporate into their risk management plan. And again, in my being a financial advisor over the last 25 years, I've been executing and implementing them very extensively as part of protecting the downside. There is so many things we cannot control, in our lives, especially if you are a business owner, but we can mitigate the risk, and insurance is critically important uh, in that respect. All right. So I'd like to switch gears for a few minutes, Bharat, and speak about the environment that, as a country, as the world has been going through this COVID-19, the lockdowns. Has the environment been impacting the way that you would value the businesses? Because a lot of components, as far as I can see, they're very different. The businesses that used to generate X amount of dollars in revenues, if they're lucky enough to still be in business, the revenues are down, 50, 80, 90, sometimes percent. So has it been affecting the way that you would value those businesses considering the environment?
No, not at all. In fact, as I said, the fundamentals always stay the same. And it doesn't matter what happens in the environment, as long as you stick with the fundamentals, you can never go wrong. So yeah, the revenue has been down. That means what? The value is probably down. But is that temporary? Could be. Is the revenue temporary? Could be. So I frankly don't get too jostled
Right.
by the swings in the economy or the swings in the cash flow or how a
Everything is
industry,
cyclical. We know that. Yes,
right,
absolutely.
right, how an industry is doing, right? Every industry, every business, everything, has its ups and downs, and that's, as you said, cyclical. And as long as you keep your eye on the ball as a valuation expert, as long as you keep your eyes on the fundamental, that okay, what is really important in this business? So, biggest part of my job, Gene, is not to value things.
Right.
Biggest part of my job is to really understand what makes this business tick. what's really the true heartbeat of this business. And once I understand that, then I really understand the business. Without really understanding what makes a business tick, I'm really not doing my job. But once I get, what's making that business go around, everything else becomes easy. Frankly,
Point,
numbers fall into place.
good points, Bharat. In your experience, very extensive experience, uh, which ones would be the easiest to evaluate as far as the businesses, and which ones would be more complex? Again, in my opinion, some businesses that have only intrinsic value, they would be extremely more complex in getting appraised and valuated. So I would love you to share your position on that.
So the analogy I give to people is think of me like a veterinarian. A dog, a horse, a frog, a fish, a giraffe, a shark, it's all the same.
They're all different
So,
species, but they're all animal life. Yeah.
correct. So, for a veterinarian, is it easier to work on a dog versus a giraffe or a frog versus a koi fish? No, it's all the same, right? They're a vet. That's what they do. Um, Now, they might have more experience in looking at dogs just because there are more dogs, but that doesn't mean they're any better at looking at dogs than a frog. Same thing with with an appraiser. So think of me like a vet. A winery or a CPA practice or a taxi company or a golf course or any business. It's all the same to me. So that's why first thing I do is understand the heartbeat of that business. The doctor always first thing they do is come and listen to your heartbeat with a stethoscope. Doesn't matter if you're a dog or a horse or a frog, nothing. So they're trying to understand, okay, what's going on here? So that's really my job too. Once I understand what's going on with this business or this asset, whatever that asset might be, everything else really falls into place. So, no, there is really no business that's easier to value or more difficult to value. So, say, for example, many a times if you're valuing a um, business that is prestigious. I mean, one rule of thumb I always tell people, if a business is very prestigious, it's probably not very profitable. If a business is not prestigious, it's
Right.
probably very profitable. So you want a profitable business?
Great
Waste
analogy.
management.
It's a
Become a
great
garbage man.
it's a great analogy. Yeah, I mean, something which does not really have a lot of glitz, um, around that business. You gave a perfect example: waste management. Funeral services. I mean, the businesses that very few people are born looking to get involved in, they would not. But at the same time, somebody running and operating, some franchise, Rolex franchise place, for example,
Not
it just
profitable.
the profit margins, they are just non-existing. The competition is so severe, and at the end of the day, you just get to keep that flagship store. Either it's Manhattan or it's downtown San Francisco, where you are based at. You just keep losing the revenue just for the glitz, for the name of it, in hope that your other outfits, other stores, other locations, they're going to be more profitable, and they're going to make up for the losses, consistent losses, I should be saying, in your flagship store that carries that glitzy name. That's pretty incredible. I really wish that more people saw the value of understanding the value of the businesses, because I've seen examples where an owner is just not willing to speak about the transfer of the businesses to his kids, or even selling the business. They feel they're going to be out there forever. Well, unfortunately, none of us stays at the age of 25-year-old forever, and it's just a matter of time. And so often it's not just the age itself, but accidents, they happen. And if the company needs to be liquidated, for example, and there is no proper instruments, to protect the downside of either the family or the existing partners. In a lot of cases, it's not just a sole proprietor, it's a partnership. And they don't have some basics like buy-sell agreement, for example. I'm sure you came across a lot of cases where you would have to interact with attorneys, the legal and the tax advisors, or the businesses, who order those valuations. And And again, not everything is in place, and ultimately it's going to be damaging to whoever is going to be inheriting the business. Either it's going to be a family or the partners, remaining partners. I've seen quite a few cases where uh, the appraisers, they place valuations, but as you pointed, it's not something that has been done on the ongoing basis. They had the valuation of the business based on X amount of dollars. Upon the demise of one of the partners of the company, the value of the business was arguably 3 or 4 times that amount, but they had the life insurance in place, for example, which is one of the most commonly utilized financial instruments to protect the downside in terms of the exit of one of the partners. And that life insurance coverage was covering only a fractional amount. So I can't agree with you more on the importance of placing proper valuations, not only at some point in the past, but also on the pretty much ongoing basis. That's
Yeah.
my strong opinion.
Do you play any sports, Gene?
I swim. I used to play ice hockey when I grew up. Yeah.
Okay, so
You
say
have some
for
good analogies
example,
in that respect.
yeah, for example, when you're swimming, like when I swim, I used to swim, and I would generally either time myself
Yep.
or count the laps. I can't do both. I'm not that coordinated. So
Right.
I would either, set up a stopwatch for 30 minutes
Right.
or 45 minutes,
Right.
right? And just keep going back and
Just
forth.
keep going. Yeah.
Or I would just not worry about the time and I set myself, okay, 50 laps back and forth, keep doing it, right? Now, when you're looking at laps or time, something is keeping track of that metric, right? You're keeping track of those laps.
Yeah.
Say you do 1 lap and then 5 more laps, and then you forget about the number of laps, and then you do 10 more. Well, you have no idea where you are. You
Right.
have no idea how many you've done or how many you need to do. Or if you're asking your sister or your son to keep track of time, and they're not keeping track of time, right? They're hitting the stopwatch again and again, which is just screwing up your time. Well, how
Right.
do you know how you've done? So valuation is exactly that. It's like keeping score. Well, I play golf, right? I keep score. If I don't keep score, I have no idea how I did. So valuation is exactly that. Your cash flow, your balance sheet, all those things don't tell you how you've done. Your valuation really tells you how you did. Valuation is the scorecard. Valuation is your golf card.
What can be measured can be managed. It's so true. And unless you keep track of those matrix, then again, your business is not going to be nearly as efficient as it can be. And most of the people, they really base all the expectations of their future income on the exit strategy. Hey, I'm going to grow my business and I'm going to sell it for, 5 times or 10 times or 20 times of what I invested into the business. The problem is that if, again, they're not keeping track of those matrix, if they have no realistic number, how much that practice, that business, that property is worth, then again, they're completely swimming without navigation. And the chance of getting to the final destination successfully and on time with the best possible results, they're being diminished dramatically as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, that's great. Just would like we do have obviously time restrictions. The audience, they need to go back to their day-to-day routine and making some money for a change. But I would like to spend just a few minutes in one of your latest episodes. You have been speaking about when is the best time to go wine tasting, and obviously you being smacked in the middle of that. Of the beautiful area, which is, has some of the best wineries, not just in the country, probably in the world. And it said, once the wineries are open, so I guess now it's a good time, right, to
So I
experience it.
always tell people that, and I practically do this. And so most people want to go wine tasting at noon or 1 o'clock. So, they wake up around 9, 8 o'clock, then they drive to the wineries, and then they start tasting at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock. I'm like, that's stupid. First thing is wineries open at 10 or 10:30, depending on the winery, right? Why can't you start wine tasting at 10, 10:30? because most people leave their houses at 10:30 or 11 or 12 o'clock.
Right.
And it'll take you 2 hours to get to the wineries
Yeah. Yeah.
if you leave at that time. If you leave early in the morning, if you leave at 9 o'clock, it takes you 1 hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
You start drinking early. And it's the weekend. Come on. So I always tell people, my friends and family, they make fun of me when I say, let's go wine tasting. They're like, no, we're not doing wine tasting for breakfast. I'm like, fine, I'll meet you there. So I go early. I like wine tasting early because the wineries are fresh. Everything, people are fresh. Everything is nice. There's no traffic. I always like going early.
A great approach. I hope one day, again, when this insanity is over, and you will be able to travel to the East Coast, and myself, I'm going to see you in California one day. So that would be definitely nice. So Bharat, again, I appreciate you sharing the advice and expertise. Again, I do invite our audience to check out your YouTube channel. What is it worth? I truly enjoyed watching those episodes. And, we'll be in touch. All right. Thanks for taking time of your day. And to our audience, please don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and keep spreading the word. I mean, this way we're going to keep doing the best and keep inviting some of the most talented, professionals to our channel. All right, Bharat, thank you very much. And to our audience and viewers and on the podcast listeners, thank you very much and have a great day, folks.
Thanks, Gene.
Thank you, Bharat.